you can get 3 kinds of advantages, disadvantages prompts. The first one, the prompt will say something like, discuss the advantages and disadvantages. The second one will say something like, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? And the third type will say, discuss the advantages and disadvantages and give your opinion. Okay, starting with the first one, couple things to keep in mind. The first one does not ask for your opinion. It's not actually a true essay because if there's no opinion, there's no argument, it's just descriptive writing. That's all it is. That's all you have to talk about. One major advantage, one major disadvantage. Okay, you describe one in each body paragraph, and you're done. The second type here, there is no need to discuss both sides, but you should mention the weaker side briefly. For the most part, you can treat it as an advantages, disadvantages type essay. If it ever asks you what are the, you can treat it as an agree, disagree type essay. Okay, if it asks you whether you agree or disagree, you don't talk about both sides. One side is enough. Okay. You give 2 reasons to support your opinion. And we'll talk about the structure in greater depth as we go through each of these 3 prompts. This one, you need to talk about 3 things. Let me rephrase that. You must talk about 3 things. Side A, side B, your opinion. Each of these 3 parts must be equally developed. Okay. You can do this in 2 paragraphs, or you can do it in 3 paragraphs. Some of the models that are on the website do it in 2 paragraphs, others do it in 3 paragraphs. I suggest doing it in 3 body paragraphs because it's clear what the difference is. It's like when you're taking the speaking test. In the first part of the speaking test, you're asked to talk about personal experiences. What do you think? How do you feel? How do you like your neighborhood? You talk about your job, what you're doing in school. But in the last part of the speaking test, you get questions like, what kind of transportation do most people in your country use? Notice they're not asking what kind of transportation you use, they're asking what kind of transportation most people or other people in your country prefer or use. It's harder to talk about other people than it is to talk about yourself. Just linguistically, it's easier to talk about what you think and what you feel compared to talking about what other people think and feel. So that's why they're giving you those kinds of questions in the third part of the speaking test. And if you talk about your personal experiences, it's considered off topic. Okay, you get a low score if you do that. So the reason I suggest 3 parts here is that the first 2 parts, you're talking about what most people believe or what some people believe. And in the final part, you're clearly talking about your opinion. So the first 2 parts are descriptive. The last part is persuasive. Now let's look at 3 different prompts based on these three variations of advantages and disadvantages, and we'll talk about the structure for each one. Okay. Many children are encouraged by their parents to get a part-time job in their free time. What are the advantages and disadvantages of children doing so? Okay. Notice here, it does not ask for your opinion. You do not give your opinion because it's off topic and you'll lose marks. Okay, it's very straightforward. Nerissa, do you remember what the structure was that we talked about on Saturday? Just the overall template for an IELTS essay.
There is about topic, example, yeah, about that.
Mm-hmm.
Structure. Body parts 1, body part 2, and conclusion.
So tell me, what goes in the intro paragraph?
Intro, we change the, oh, I forgot how to explain. We have this sentence, many children,
Yeah.
and we need to, I forgot the word.
Yeah, so that's called the prompt.
Prompt.
Right.
In intro, we need to change like question, and in say it by our own words.
Exactly. So we say you have to paraphrase it.
Paraphrase. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. Paraphrase means put it in your own words. Okay, so that's the context. The reason we start with that is writing goes from general to specific. And the prompt here, the first part of the prompt is they're giving you the context. It's the most general idea of what we're talking about. All you do, this is automatic. This is for both academic tasks. Writing task 1, writing task 2. Your first sentence in the intro is to paraphrase the prompt. Okay, Nerissa, what is the second, oops, what's the second sentence in the introduction?
We say about advantages, like 1 advantages and 1 disadvantages.
Okay.
One advantage.
Yeah, so we call that the thesis. Thesis is the most important sentence in an essay. It's a 1 to 2 sentence summary of your position. Okay. In this case, it's not really a thesis because there's no argument, but it'll be a summary of what you're talking about. Okay. Oksana. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, what is the structure of body paragraphs?
In body paragraphs number 1, we should write only about advantages.
Mm-hmm. It's up to you which one you do first, but sure, let's say we want to start with advantages. Tell me what the structure is for the entire body paragraph. What's the acronym that we use?
We should include their examples.
Okay. Do you remember the acronym for all these body paragraphs?
Trees.
Yep.
Yeah.
So example is down here.
Yes.
What comes before?
Reason there are, right? Acid solution, no?
No.
No, sorry.
No, it's not math.
Okay.
What does any body paragraph start off with? What's that first sentence called?
A topic, right?
Yes.
Evidence.
That's it.
Significance.
There we go. And you know what? It's always the same. This format is the hardest working paragraph format you're ever going to get. This is derived from the way professionals write. It doesn't mean that every single body paragraph always needs to have every single element, but usually it does. And when it does, it's usually in this order. Often, evidence and example can be flipped. Sometimes it's more effective to start with the example. Sometimes it's not. That's on a case-by-case basis. But when you have this information, it proceeds in this order. General down to more and more specific. The most specific part is the example. This is why it's really important to read the news. And I don't mean read the news in depth. I mean, get the Toronto Star, read the heading, the subhead, and the first two body paragraphs, and you've got most of the story. You need to fill your head with ideas, which you can just pull out of your back pocket and use as evidence and examples in these kinds of essays. During the examination, you don't have a newspaper, you don't have access to Google, so you have to make things up. And it's perfectly acceptable to make up the evidence and the examples. Perfectly acceptable. But reading on a regular basis lets you do this very quickly because you're going to come up with tons of stuff. You're going to read tons and tons of stuff that's relevant to supporting IELTS arguments. Okay. And Narisa, back to you. Do you remember what goes in the conclusion?
In conclusion, both sides.
Again, it's the thesis, both sides. Okay. And then at the end,
we don't have here opinions, so we like this. I don't remember.
we're going to call it a final thought. This is not a requirement of the essay. It's not on the rubric. Nowhere does it say you need this, but sometimes only ending with the thesis is very abrupt. Okay, so the final thought is optional, but it includes things like observation, or a prediction, or a call to action.
But the what we have the text on Saturday about homeschooling, and there is kind of like no final thought. Yeah.
It's not a requirement.
Oh.
What doesn't look too great is having a very short one-sentence paragraph in the conclusion. Okay. If you've got a couple sentences there already, for example, this one has advantages and disadvantages, you might not need this. Again, it's on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes it just feels really abrupt, the ending, and you might want to put something in there. It's optional. Okay, and it's usually related to the context, to how you started. Okay. Many children are encouraged by their parents to get a part-time job in their free time. What are the advantages and disadvantages of children doing so? Step one is always analyze the prompt. What do you have to talk about in this prompt? Dina.
So we have to talk about the advantage and disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
So the advantage of letting the children, I let the advantage of parents who let their children working as part-time, and the second part, the disadvantage of working them as part-time. So the advantage, maybe they will learn, they will enhance their working skills. So they will be ready for adult life.
Okay. What I'm doing right now is part of the writing process. This is not optional. This is what we call an outline. Okay. The outline is a point form answer to the question. When you write point form, it's really small, it's really short, and it lets you see everything at a glance. You don't have to read a long sentence, you see everything at a glance, and then you look back at the prompt to make sure that what you're saying, that your point form ideas 100% match what the prompt says. Do not start writing until you're confident that your outline, that your ideas in the outline are a 100% answer to the prompt. It does not matter how beautiful your writing is. If it doesn't answer the prompt exactly, you're going to get a low score. Okay, good. So enhancing working skills, preparing kids for adult life. Good. That's an obvious advantage of children doing this. And by the way, go for the obvious ideas. Don't try and complicate this. They don't care. They're not interested. The examiner is only interested in if you can put together a logical, straightforward answer to the question. They are not looking for anything deep. They're going to read this in less than 4 minutes and forget about it. Okay, so you're not trying to impress them. You're just trying to show them that you understand how this works. Okay, let me ask someone else. Marcella, what is a disadvantage of children working part-time?
One disadvantage would be because they will valorize more the working because they receive money and they will leave the school for second plan.
I think better to write one disadvantage. I think she explained what she said first, that the children will be exploited, we call it.
No, she said valorize. So you said they will leave school in favor of working?
No, they will, yeah, not leave, but they will leave in second plan.
Okay, so here's a very good verb.
Priority.
Prioritize.
Mhm.
Okay, priority means what's important. Prioritize is a really good verb. Instead of saying they will find work more important, you can say they will prioritize work.
Mhm.
Valorize. What?
What does meaning valorize? I never heard about it.
Okay.
It means that they will find that work is more important than the school because they earn money from work.
Maybe we say tempted to work more than study.
I'm looking for a synonym. I'm looking for a good synonym for valorize. It's a
Tempt, T-E-M-P-T.
Valorize.
Tempted.
You know what? Don't use that word.
Or they favor work more than favor.
I think this word prioritize works.
Why not use valorize?
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's a $100 word. Okay, if you want to use it, go for it. Let's see how it works. Okay. I don't think I've ever used this word in my. I don't think I've ever used this word in my life. That doesn't mean you can't use it. Okay. Okay. Nothing terribly complicated here, right? It's not rocket science. It's not university level philosophy. It's just a straightforward answer to the question. This is good enough. Let's write a thesis statement. Okay. I'm going to share this document with you. Okay, so in the chat, you know what, this sometimes takes a while. Why don't you just use the chat box? Does everyone know where it is? Okay, so I just posted write your thesis here in the chat box. Take 2 or 3 minutes to write a 1 to 2 sentence thesis statement. Thesis statement is a 1 to 2 sentence summary of your arguments. It's the most important part of any essay. Okay, we've got 3 people. Okay, let's get started then. Okay, Oksana, we're still waiting on yours.
Yes, yes. I need couple seconds.
Okay. And Dina, yours is the same twice, or they're not the same? Yes, these are the same. Okay.
Yeah, because first is written only privately to you, so I change it to everyone.
Got it.
So yeah, they are the same.
Got him. All right, here we go. Okay, hello, Sylvia. Okay, sending kids to part-time work can be complicated, bring some doubts.
Hi, I'm Sylvia.
Okay, hi there. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
What should I say?
Okay, where are you from? What do you do? Why are you preparing for IELTS? How long have you been preparing for IELTS? What's your IELTS history been like?
So I'm from Poland and I'm here for 5 years and I'm working at Pandora, at Sherry Gardens,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to upgrade my English. That's why I came here to join the classes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so why are you upgrading your English? What's your goal?
I just want to be prepared for school because I'm planning to start in September. So
Which program are you starting?
I still haven't decided between two, but the two that I'm thinking of, one of them is media communications and the second one is criminal justice.
Criminal justice. Okay. So Oksana here is into criminal justice. And wow, those two programs are really different.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to choose because there's nothing that is really in between.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, well, maybe we'll have a chance to talk about this. You could do both.
I could, just I'm not sure if I can do this actually. I will be able to have that much stuff to learn and to be good at everything that is that different.
Mm-hmm. What did you do in Poland?
So I was actually studying Polish language because I was thinking to be a teacher, but I quit the university and I came here.
Okay. So you've not finished university then?
No.
Okay. So this is going back to school. Okay, good for you.
Yes.
Do you need to take IELTS again?
I actually found some different way, a little bit cheaper way to apply as a mature student, and then I went to write an essay, and they accepted me for the criminal justice, but for the media communications, they put me on the wait list.
Okay.
So I will just reapply with the same essay that I wrote. And maybe this time they will accept me, but I'm not sure which one I should pick.
Okay, cool. All right then. So let's start with yours. Okay, so just for, don't take anything I say personally. I'm just here to give you all the best and simplest way to answer these kinds of prompts. In academic English, there's no creative aspect to it. I hate to say that, but if you're trying to get creative and impress your professors, you are very likely to achieve the opposite result. When professors, just like IELTS, when they give you a specific prompt, they expect a response that answers that prompt specifically. IELTS examiners read 100 essays per day. Your prof, again, is going to read 100 of these essays when the whole class hands them in, and I guarantee you, he or she is a normal human being who wants to get through them as quickly as possible. So the secret to happiness at school and on IELTS is to give people exactly what they want, no more and no less. Okay, so the first sentence doesn't really tell us anything, right? It can be complicated, yes, and bring some doubts. What do you mean by bring some doubts?
That they are not sure if they are actually making a right decision or not.
Okay. Notice how that's a clear idea in your head, but these three words don't capture that idea. Right, so one thing to be clear about as a writer is that you're not writing for yourself. You are writing for an audience that has no idea what you're thinking about. So an important part of writing is to be very explicit. Don't ask the audience to imagine everything or anything. Just tell them exactly what you mean. Okay, but at the end of it, they can learn a good lesson in life that will prepare them for the future. And we can help them to find a balance between school and work. Okay. It's a little bit too complicated, a little bit too vague, and maybe a little bit too philosophical. Okay, these are all good things, but for this particular task, let's just look at a couple other examples from people who have kind of been in this course for a while. Okay, Dina. Although children who work part-time seem to be ready for practical life in the future, I think youngsters' academic performance will suffer because they favor work more than study. Okay. Be careful. This is advantages and disadvantages. You're not being asked for your opinion. Okay. So the words I think, I believe, in my opinion, don't belong in a prompt where it just asks you about the advantages and disadvantages. Okay. This is fine now without I think. Marcella.
Mr. Jan, I'm sorry, did you got mine?
Did I get yours? No.
Okay,
Press enter. If you put in the chat box, you have to press enter for it to actually send. Maybe that's what happened, but no, I don't see yours. Okay.
Mr. Wan, I correct it and send it again. I just changed the end. Can you see the other?
Some parents, okay. So it's the second one, right? Some parents?
Yeah, after yeah, it's the last affirmative. I changed the.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, the last one.
And then Narisa's is there too. And Oksana, I see yours. Okay, here we go. Good. Very simple, very straightforward. Yep, nice. This word is not going to work. If you want to use a very high-level word, it's incentivize. And are you going to ever need this on IELTS? Give people a reason to do something. What's a simple word that means this?
Encourage.
Encourage. Okay, so they're not exactly synonyms. Incentivize means that you offer people some kind of bonus in order to do something.
Incentive is noun.
Yes.
So
People often say, why should I do that? What's the incentive? What's the reason for
benefit.
doing it? Yeah, exactly. What's the
What is
benefit
the
for me for doing this?
okay.
Incentivize is a verb. It's used. Who uses this word?
It's very rare.
Yeah,
Very rare.
human resources professionals might use this if they're talking about how to manipulate employees into working harder for less money. Not a common word. Encourage is the one you want.
Or maybe stimulate.
What does stimulate mean?
The same, encourage.
Just use encourage. You're hanging around doctors too much. You're getting their disease of trying to overcomplicate everything. Okay, use simple words where simple words will do. Every professional writer says if you can express the same idea using simpler language, you should always do so. Especially, this is good practice for you because you're probably accustomed to talking to other professionals. Doctors talk to other professionals, and you use big words like insider language. It's like a priesthood, right? You use all this vocabulary that the ordinary person has never heard before, doesn't understand at all. But that's not the kind of language you should be using with your patients. Because it's just, we have this expression, it's going to go over their heads. All right, so you got to get used to using common, ordinary language to communicate even complicated ideas. Right, as well, people who visit you are probably under stress, right? They're worried about their health. You need to use simple language that they remember what you say and, more importantly, do what you tell them to do. Okay, simple words, encourage, works just fine. Otherwise, this is excellent. This is what you're looking for. Some parents encourage their kids to work while studying because they think that'll help them learn new skills and be ready for adulthood. That is an obvious advantage. However, good transition. One disadvantage of starting work earlier is that children will valorize their work more than school because they earn more money from work. And I'm just going to stick this word in here, prioritize, in case anyone wants to steal your thesis and use it for themselves. Ariza, many children. Many children want financial independence to show everyone they can be like adults. It's a great lesson. Okay, good. First two sentences, very good. At that time, we can see another side of the coin that is kids don't want to spend much time for studying or live at all. What do you mean by live at all? Your mute is on, so we can't hear you. Perhaps Nerissa stepped away?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. What do you mean by this last part, or live it all?
Not live, different word, go away from school. Leave. Live.
Oh, leave.
Not live. Sorry.
Okay. We're going to use this expression, or even drop out.
Oh, drop.
Many children want
Want.
financial independence. So that's the noun form, and show everyone that they can be like adults. It's a great lesson for them to find themselves. This one is always plural.
Mhm.
In life. How? By trying different part-time jobs. Good. At the same time is the expression.
Oh.
At the same time, we can see another side of the coin. It's always the other side of the coin, another side of the coin. Yeah. We can see another side of the coin. And this is the one we talked about earlier with the relative clauses.
Which?
Right. So this thing is describing the previous idea. A lot of kids don't, she doesn't, they don't want to spend much time for studying, they don't want to spend much time studying, or even drop out. Or they might even drop out. Okay, very good. Oksana. So this is a run-on sentence. It just means here you need a period or a semicolon.
Yeah, I always have the same problem.
How do you think you can stop having this problem?
I don't know. All the time I have run-off of sentences. All the time. I don't know how.
This is what run-on sentence means. I like pizza. I like burgers. The rule is, if you have two sentences, you can't just split them with a comma. That's the rule. I like pizza. Is that a sentence by itself? Could you just put a period after I like pizza?
Maybe, and I like burgers. I don't know.
Sure. But just to avoid doing this, if you say I like pizza, put a period at the end, is that a sentence by itself?
Yes.
That's right. And I like burgers, is that a sentence by itself?
Yes.
Okay, so if you've got that situation, you can't just put a comma in the middle. You can put a period, you can put and, there's other things that you can also do, but that's what's going on here. So all you need to do is if you look at this and you ask yourself, can this be a sentence by itself?
Yes, it can.
Okay. And then the second part, can that be a sentence by itself?
Yes, I can start with others. No.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course you can. It's the same as other people.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the same. So you can just do a period here, and that's the easy way to sort this out.
Mm-hmm.
Enters their time for studying and prepare themselves for a future profession.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, for this prompt, it's asking you about the advantages and disadvantages, not what 2 points of view are. Okay, so the format of your response doesn't match the prompt.
Yeah, and should I include my opinion there? No.
No, absolutely not. Not for this particular prompt. It's if they don't ask you for your opinion, you do not give it because you'll lose marks. Okay. It's like I said earlier, in school, give teachers exactly what they ask for, not less and not more. Right? Even though you could say so much more about the topic, save it for another occasion. Right? An essay, sometimes people ask for a definition of an essay. An essay is an incomplete treatment of a topic. An incomplete treatment of a topic. Just a very narrow aspect of it. So you don't need to say too much. Okay, just for example's sake, I'm going to use Marcella's thesis here. And we're going to go back up to our template, and I'm going to put why does this keep moving around like this? Okay, maybe this is the problem. Sorry for the jumping around. I don't know why it's acting up like this. Because it's Microsoft, that's why it's doing it. Okay. There's our thesis. Now, what I'd like you to notice is that the thesis, this topic and reason, this topic and reason, and this thesis are all the same thing. Okay. The new version of the test, when you can write on computer, allows you to write in this way. On paper, you have to write from beginning to end, but there's no reason to do so on computer. On computer, you can actually write in point form and expand your ideas into full ideas. This is how professionals write. First step when professionals write is to get their ideas onto the page as quickly as possible without censoring themselves. Because ideas, they fade away very quickly. When that idea pops into your head, write it down as quick as you can. You can clean it up later, don't worry about that. What this also means here is that if, for example, you've got great ideas for this, and this is really flowing in your head, the ideas are just popping into your head about the disadvantages of letting kids work, then you can write about that paragraph first. You don't have to start from the beginning. Okay, so by convention, this thesis statement in the conclusion is the exact same as the thesis statement in the introduction. Just you have to paraphrase yourself. You can't use exactly the same language. So Marcella, how would you paraphrase your own thesis statement? For the conclusion, just start with therefore, thus.
Therefore.
Or you can say to summarize, because there's no argument here.
Some parents think, oh no.
Hey, can I give you a suggestion?
Yes.
Okay. If you start off with the main clause and then say because, the mirror version of that would be transform because into due to at the beginning of your sentence, and then give the main idea. So you've got here, some parents encourage their children to work while studying because they think that will help them to learn new skills and be ready for adulthood. So if you use this method, what would you start with?
Some parents encourage because some parents encourage their no.
So you're going to flip the sentence. You're going to flip the structure. Do you have any idea what I mean, or do you want me to explain it?
Thinking that help. No.
Can we say like working part-time by children is beneficial?
Just bear with me for a moment.
Due to the fact that part-time work help kids to learn skills and due to the fact that part-time work helps kids to learn new practice, no, new.
Can we say future working skills?
New skills for work. Straightforward.
Many parents encourage. We have to change, right? Stimulate.
What's another synonym for encourage?
Support.
Support is good. Any other words?
Influence.
Influence. What else? What's a simple four-letter word?
Motivate.
Prompt.
Push.
Push. Okay, that's half of it. So this is the mirror image of your thesis and the introduction. Right? The reason came second in your first thesis. Just put the reason first in your second version, and that's a nice formula that's always going to work.
So can I ask you, instead of push or encourage, can we say drive or compel?
Well, compel is force. So that's a little bit stronger. Actually, it's a lot stronger.
What about push? Not strong?
Push is not as strong. It's the same as encourage.
What about drive?
Drive is like compel. Drive is stronger. Okay, encourage or push is
like
okay.
The compel and drive, like force.
Right. So force is not this. Force is stronger than encourage.
Yeah. This I understand. So those is like on the more strong. Okay.
Okay. So the flip side is However, that being said, so you've got one disadvantage of starting work earlier is that children will prioritize their work more than school because they earn more money from work. Can you try and flip that one too?
That being said is like, however?
Yeah.
Or in contrast? Okay.
Yeah.
That being said, children will prioritize.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to use valorize in the first version, you can use prioritize in the second. What's a synonym for work? Marcella, did we lose you? Uh-oh. Looks like we've got a shaky internet connection. Okay. That being said, children might prioritize.
Sorry, my computer died.
Okay. So because they earn more money from work, if we're going to use the mirror method, that being said, the reason goes first. What's a synonym for due to?
Because? Or as a result?
As a result,
result
of. Okay, this is a mirror image of this.
I want
and
to
now,
ask.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, when we say prioritize, at the first we said work, but job we cannot say direct prioritize job.
No, prioritize their job. Because work can be the idea of employment, or it can be what you actually do.
Okay.
Right. Like when people say I hate work, they're talking about the idea of working for money.
Or my job. I hate my job.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So now the topic and reason. So this format, the trees format, it has 5 points, but it doesn't necessarily mean 5 sentences. It can mean more, it can mean less. Topic and reason is generally 1 sentence. Okay, so the thesis statement cut in half is this, and the other half is this. So when when you've got your thesis statement, you've actually got about 100 words of the essay. Your goal here is 250 to 300 words. Your thesis plus its paraphrase plus the 2 topic sentences is about 100 words. That's roughly 1/3 of the entire essay, okay, that you've already got from one idea. All right, so we got to paraphrase it once more. We've only got 8 minutes left in class. Why don't we get someone else? Sylvia.
Yes.
Can you just take the advantages part of Marcella's thesis and paraphrase that as the topic sentence of our first body paragraph?
I should just read her part?
You have to put it in different words. You can't use the same words over and over again. It doesn't look good. If you're talking about an advantages, disadvantages essay, what's a simple way to begin this sentence?
From advantage of sending kids to work while studying.
Good.
Can help them to learn new skills and prepare them for the future.
Very, very nice. Well, we've got learn new skills. What is a synonym for learn? And this often collocates with skills.
Acquire.
Where?
Acquire.
So while studying, we can paraphrase as while they study or while they are in school. Can help them to acquire new skills. And what was the last part that you said?
And prepare them for the future.
Good. And let's go with Nariza.
Yes.
Can you take the disadvantages portion of the thesis and construct this topic sentence? And I just want to point out here that that's your topic and your reason, so that's done. Okay, go ahead, Nariza.
Disadvantage.
Don't try and be
part-time.
creative, just be straightforward.
Disadvantage of part-time job for kids. We can say the same, the main advantages, the main disadvantages.
Yep, what's a synonym for main? See, when you're writing on computer, you can fix this stuff later. Get your ideas out there fast, and then later during the editing phase, you have to give yourself 3 to 5 minutes for editing at the end. So as part of this training process, you're spending the first 3 to 5 minutes on brainstorming. You need to give yourself the last 5 minutes for editing. Your goal is to write 300 words in 30 minutes. Okay, not right now, but down the road, your goal is to write the essay in 30 minutes. Okay, what's a synonym for main?
Could be like primary.
Could be primary. You could also say a major disadvantage.
Can we say significant?
Yep, those are all good. Okay, continue please, Nariza.
Job for kids. They start to put their job, their work for on the first site.
Put their job first. Yep.
Instead of maybe on not studying,
Hey, so you want to watch TV? Okay. Have you finished your This is what every parent says to their kids. If you want to watch TV, you first have to finish your
lesson.
Homework?
schoolwork. Sure.
Schoolwork.
Okay. One idea is now 1/3 of your essay. That's how important the thesis statement is. Okay, and everything else that you write in here supports this. Everything that you write here supports this. You have to put an example, you have to give some kind of evidence, and the significant statement simply explains how your example supports your thesis. Okay, so you can start the significant statement with a phrase like "for that reason." You can start the significant statement here with "thus" or "therefore." The evidence part often begins with something like "research shows." Okay. Make something up, something that you read in the Toronto Star recently.
According to.
Example, for example. Simple. You know those old-fashioned kids coloring books where it tells you how to paint by numbers? So that the whole design is divided into different sections and they number those sections and each number corresponds to a different color? This is what this is. It's painting by numbers. The thing is, it works. Once you're super comfortable with this, then you can get a little bit more creative with the format. But even, I want to say this is truthfully, this format works well for professionals. It's going to work well for you. It's like if you want to write Japanese poetry. Japanese poetry, every single line in the poem has a fixed number of syllables. You're not allowed to change it. It doesn't make your poetry less creative. It allows you to, the structure is a given. You can't mess with the structure. It has a fixed number of lines, and every single line has a fixed number of syllables. That does not impact your creativity. What you focus on is communicating your ideas within that format. Shakespeare used a regular format too, iambic pentameter. Okay. Similar number of syllables, same number of syllables in every line. It was a fixed format. This obviously did not hurt Shakespeare's ability to be creative. It's not going to hurt yours either. What this allows you to do is it tells you exactly what content has to be in the essay, and it tells you what order that content has to come in. Okay, you fill this in with your own ideas, you're going to be fine for task achievement and for coherence cohesion. Okay, this allows you to focus on vocabulary and grammar. Okay. All right, that's it. Sorry, we're 2 minutes over. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, can I say something?
Yeah, and if you have to go, you can go. This is being recorded, so I'll post the recording either late tonight or tomorrow. It takes a while to process. And in a few minutes, I'll post the location of where you're going to do your writing for this one. Okay, it'll be a link in the news forum at the top. Sylvia, if you can stick around for just a couple minutes, if that's possible, I can show you how the course works. Okay, go ahead, Marcella.
In the body one, I think it's missing something after can, before can.
Hmm?
I think it's missing something because the main advantage of sending kids to work while they are in school.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. Yeah.
While they're in school is that it can help them to acquire new skills. Good. What about the second one? So, okay, the other one is fine. Okay, was there anything else that I screwed up here? No, it looks okay. So you can steal this. You can use this as your starting point and just fill in these ideas. You can paraphrase the prompt, fill in the body, give a final thought if you want to. In this case, it's not too necessary because your conclusion already has 2 sentences in it because of this type of prompt. Okay. Okay, that's it then.